The starship Meridian Dawn hummed through the void between systems, carrying its crew of explorers deeper into uncharted space than humanity had ever ventured. Among them was Jessica Chen, a xenobiologist whose fascination with alien life bordered on obsession, and James Parker, the ship's security chief who'd made it his personal mission to keep her alive despite her reckless curiosity. The distress beacon came from a moon orbiting a gas giant in the Kepler 442 system. Standard protocol demanded caution, but Jessica had insisted they investigate. Now, as she stood in the cargo bay examining their discovery, James crossed his arms and glared. "You brought them aboard," he said flatly. "You actually brought the apex predators aboard our ship." The creatures were magnificent, scaled bodies rippling with bioluminescent patterns, six-limbed with retractable claws that could shred titanium alloys. They were Valkyrie, a species the Galactic Council had flagged as extremely dangerous after they decimated a colony on Proxima 7. Adults stood 3 meters tall and possessed enough raw power to tear through armored bulkheads. These, however, were cubs, barely a meter long, their scales still soft and iridescent. "They're orphans," Jessica said softly, kneeling beside the containment field. "The crash killed their mother. Look at them, James. They're terrified." The two cubs huddled together, their multiple eyes, 3 on each side of their elongated heads, darting around the unfamiliar environment. One whimpered, a sound like grinding metal mixed with wind chimes. "Terrified things with claws," James muttered, but his expression had softened. "The Council will want them destroyed. You know that. Then the Council doesn't need to know. Not yet." Over the following weeks, Jessica worked tirelessly to gain the cubs' trust. She learned their dietary requirements, mostly protein-rich biomass, and discovered they communicated through a combination of bioluminescent pulses and subsonic vibrations. She named them Nova and Comet, ignoring James's protests that naming them made everything worse. "You're getting attached," he warned one evening, watching her hand-feed Nova strips of synthesized meat. "These aren't puppies, Jess." "I know exactly what they are," she replied. "That's why this matters." The breakthrough came on a particularly cold ship night when the environmental systems malfunctioned in the xenobiology lab. Jessica had fallen asleep at her workstation, wrapped in her thermal quilt, when she felt something heavy settle against her legs. She opened her eyes slowly. Nova had somehow escaped the containment field, probably squeezed through the molecular gaps when Jessica had last adjusted the settings. The cub was curled against her, scales flickering in distress patterns. A moment later, Comet emerged from beneath her desk, trembling. Any rational person would have activated the alarm. These were predators, after all, with instincts honed by millions of years of evolution. Even as cubs, they could easily injure or kill a human. Instead, Jessica smiled. She lifted the edge of her quilt and made a soft clicking sound she'd heard the cubs make when content. Nova's eyes, all 6 of them, blinked in what she'd come to recognize as surprise. Comet's bioluminescent patterns shifted from distressed reds to curious purples. Slowly, cautiously, both cubs crawled fully under the quilt. Jessica remained perfectly still as they arranged themselves around her, Nova across her legs, Comet curled against her torso. Their body heat was remarkable, like having 2 small furnaces pressed against her. Their scales, so sharp-looking, actually felt smooth and warm. She could feel their rapid heartbeats gradually slowing as they relaxed. She should have been afraid. Every xenobiological protocol screamed that this was dangerous, unprecedented, foolish. But as she felt Nova's breathing deepen into sleep and Comet's bioluminescence fade to a soft, contented blue, Jessica understood something profound. Fear was a choice. Trust was a choice. And sometimes the bravest thing a human could do was choose vulnerability over violence. James found them in the morning, his security tablet already raised to document the breach. He froze in the doorway, his prepared lecture dying on his lips. Jessica was awake, still cocooned in her quilt with 2 juvenile Valkyrie predators sleeping peacefully against her. She held a finger to her lips, then gestured him closer. "James," she whispered. "Look at their neural patterns." She tilted her datapad so he could see the readouts. "They're dreaming. And according to this, they've bonded with me, imprinted. Do you know what this means? That you've adopted 2 creatures that will eventually grow large enough to accidentally kill you by sitting on you? It means Valkyrie aren't just predators. They're social, emotional, capable of trust across species boundaries. Her eyes shone with discovery. Every first contact species humans have encountered, we've approached with either weapons or walls. But what if sometimes all they need is warmth? James sighed, running a hand through his hair. The Council will still demand protocols, containment, probably termination when they reach maturity. Then we'll change their minds. Jessica's voice held steel beneath its softness. We'll show them what I learned last night, that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to extend compassion even to those we're taught to fear. Nova stirred, one eye opening to regard James with sleepy contentment. The cub's bioluminescence pulsed in a pattern Jessica had come to associate with happiness. James felt something crack in his chest. Some wall he'd built between duty and empathy. "You're insane," he said, but he was smiling. "When they eat my entire security team, I'm blaming you." "They won't," Jessica said with certainty. "Because we're teaching them a different way. One quilt at a time." Outside the viewport, stars wheeled past in their eternal dance, indifferent to the small miracle occurring aboard the Meridian Dawn. A human woman, 2 predator cubs, and the revolutionary idea that sometimes survival meant choosing love over fear.